Hi, I am so glad that you could join me today. I am so excited. I guess you all say I'm excited every week, aren't I? But I do have a lot of joy in my heart. So, let me tell you what we're doing today, what you just saw me do. I put in a half a cup, no, 1.5 cup of milk and 1.5 cup of low sodium chicken stock. So it comes up to about 3 cups in my pot with some orange zest and some red chili peppers and some salt. What we're gonna make today is fish and grits. So we want our liquid to get a little warm before we add our grits to it. But I am using some grits from South Carolina, Palmetto Farms grits. So that's what we're doing. And if you decide to make this recipe, I do encourage you to use old-fashioned grits. The quick cooking grits, they're good, but you want something sturdy because these aren't just your basic run-of-the-mill fish and grits. These are going to be a fish and grit that you can serve to your loved ones or your guests that's going to, of course, leave a memory on their palate. So you could probably already tell with the orange zest that's going in the pot. So what we have here are our mixture for biscuits. So being a girl from the South, I'm all about my traditional breakfast, grits, bacon, and eggs. Like that's the best breakfast to me. So with those grits, bacon, and eggs, my mama always would make a pan of buttermilk biscuits. So I'm gonna make buttermilk biscuits for you all today, but we're gonna kick it up a little bit because we're gonna add some Parmesan cheese to ours. So in our bowl here, what we have is 2.5 cups of flour, 2 tablespoons of baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, 2 teaspoons of sugar, and 1 teaspoon of salt. Those are our dry ingredients. So what we want to do, and I like to work with gloves when I'm making biscuits because it can get a little messy, and in a minute we're going to have to go back there and add our grits to our pot. So we don't want to dirty hands for that. But what we're going to do is take our hands and we're going to mix all of our ingredients together. Make sure all your dry ingredients are married. And at this particular stage, after we have them all together, blended well and nice and harmonized, we're going to add 6 tablespoons of unsalted cold butter. And I just cut mine in little cubes. So we're going to add that to our mixture, and I always still use my hands. However, if you're one of those people who don't like to use your hands, you can use a pastry cutter, and I do actually have one. I can show you. Looks a little like this, but I rarely use it, but I have one. So using my hands, I'm going to take the butter and just squeeze it a little bit into this flour mixture. This is a little therapeutic too. You know, after a long day of work, you just want to squeeze something just to take out a little frustration. But you don't want to work it too much because you still want to keep your butter cold because that's what's going to make your biscuits nice and fluffy and rise. So just make sure that it has you start to see little flakes and you see it coming together a little bit. So, and you of course will get these same results if you were to use your pastry cutter. Now I'm already preheating my oven on 450 degrees, and that's for our biscuits. But after we make these biscuits up, we're going to actually pop them in the refrigerator and start on the fish part of our dish, and then put our biscuits in the oven because they don't take long to prepare. So at this stage here, we have little pea size of butter and flour. I'm going to add 3/4 cup of cold buttermilk. So I'll make a little well and pour my milk in. Now here's the part where you could possibly use your pastry cutter, but why? Let's just go ahead on and continue using our hands and working the flour and butter mixture into the center. Now at this particular stage, before I get all of it completely wet, this is when I add this 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese to it, my mixture. And you know what we say here, waste not, want not, so we make sure we get all of our cheese out of this container, out of this little dish here. And sprinkle it around and continue to work your dough. Now what I start doing at this point is bringing it in together, folding it in together into the center of the bowl, because I'm looking for a nice ball. And I'm going to turn it out on my board. And bring it all together. After bringing this together into a ball, we're going to wrap it in some saran wrap or cellophane wrap and put it back in the refrigerator because we want to, of course, keep our butter cold. Whenever you work with your hands, of course, the heat, your body heat, softens that butter. And that's not what we really want. We really want nice cold butter because we want good flaky biscuits. And I'm gonna take a moment, wrap this up, and go back to the stove because I'm pretty sure our milk and broth mixture has gotten nice and warm and we can add our grits to it. All right, so we've added our grits to our pot, and it's starting to smell very good up in here. So, putting gloves back on, going to take our dough out of the refrigerator. It has, of course, just that quickly gotten cold. So we're going to add a little bit of flour to our board here and roll out our dough. And don't, like, when things like this happen, don't worry. It's gonna happen. I mean, it happens. But you work with it, and in the end, you won't even see it. But these are gonna be some very flaky biscuits, I can already tell. And what I do when I really want a good flaky biscuit, this is my little secret that I do. I'm going to share it with you, but you can't tell nobody. So I form it in a square. Like so. And I will roll. Trying to keep that square all the way through. If for some reason my square messes up, I have my little pastry cutter. Form a square back. And keep going. But that's not really the secret to my fluffy biscuits. I'm just telling you part of the steps. So at this point now I have a something like a rectangle, and what I'm going to do, so you can see, is I'm going to take it and fold it over. So if you are a baker or you like to bake and have made croissants, you should be familiar with this process. It's kind of the same concept. Cold butter and making sure that you fold your dough is part of making puff pastry or croissant, whichever, however you want to say it. Again, trying to keep my shape. Now at this point, of course, I have a rectangle. But it's okay, because we're going to fold it one more time. Look at that. And our butter is getting a little warm. You can tell because your dough is sticking to the board. So what do? Add just a little bit more flour to the board. And of course, keeping my square, or bringing it back to my square. Now, many of you have probably graduated from school and can look at this and tell, like, Chiquisha, that is not a square. Don't do that. I'm well aware of that. But when I'm finished, I'm going to have achieved just what I'm trying to achieve or accomplish with this dough. But pushing it back together, of course. And Jaquisha square. I'm going to wrap it up and put it back in the refrigerator. keeping it cold. And this is the shape you want, okay? I've been calling it a square. It might be a rectangle. Hell, you just want something like this with 4 sides. Okay, so what we did today was mix up all our dry ingredients, which was flour, baking powder, baking soda, salt, and sugar, to mix it all together. 6 tablespoons of butter. We worked it until we got little pea-sized pieces. Added our cold buttermilk. Formed a ball. Put it in the refrigerator. Took it to let it get a little cold, because you know, working with your hands, it gets your butter melts. So then we worked it into a nice shape that we would be happy with. I worked this into a rectangle. First it was a square though. Put it back in the refrigerator after folding it over because I wanted to create layers. And now I've taken it out, formed it into the shape that I like. And so I have my sheet pan here, and I have it lined with my favorite silicone mat, which is really worn, but I love this mat, y'all. I can't even begin to make you understand. But we are going to cut out biscuits. Now you can roll this out more and get more biscuits, or you can use I'm using probably about a medium size biscuit cutter, because all I really want are 4 nice biscuits. So I'm gonna see if that's what I have accomplished. And if I haven't, let me tell you how anal I am. I'm gonna go back to the drawer. No, I'm kidding. And show you that I have a small biscuit cutter. Now, who wants a biscuit that little? No, I'm just showing you that I have it. We're gonna make this work. So I wanna create a surface so that my biscuits I don't have to do this process again. So that's what I'm going to do. Try to keep it the same thickness all the way through. And I'm just putting a little pressure on it just to stretch the dough. If you decide to make this recipe, you can get a good 10 biscuits out of it though. Maybe even more, depending on the size. So I have my 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have my 4 biscuits. So what we're gonna do is start to cutting. Now surely you don't think I'm gonna take these scraps and toss them. Oh no, that's not what we do here. I got plans for them. But I'm gonna put my 4 biscuits on the cookie sheet and place in the refrigerator until I'm ready to cook them. Take them out, gonna brush the top with some buttermilk and pop them in the oven for about 10 to 12 minutes on 450. All right, so what have we done so far? We have our grits cooking, we have made up our biscuits. Let's not forget the fish part of our meal. So what I have here are, I'm patting them dry, are 4 cod fillets. And yes, I chose cod because it's such a meaty fish, but I'm gonna wear gloves again working with this fish, and we're going to season it, but we're not going to put too much seasoning on it because we're also going to wrap the fish in prosciutto. I choose prosciutto because it's my play on bacon. So what I'm going to do is just season it with just a little salt on both sides. You just want a little. Prosciutto is kind of salty. and pepper. Both sides, of course. And these are actually two fillets that I cut in half, because the way I serve this size, it's about 2 ounces, maybe 2.5 ounces. This is like the perfect size for this dish. And you'll see why as we approach the end. So I have me some thinly sliced prosciutto that I am going to wrap around my fish like so. It's gonna be like a little pocket. And this is why I was telling you, don't worry about putting too much salt on your fish, because it's definitely going to have flavor. Any extra prosciutto, after I've wrapped it, I'm taking it off because it's not really needed. I will cook it because I've touched it with this fish, and I will eat it. Trust me, it will not go to waste. And so what we have here are cod wrapped in prosciutto. So let's go on back here to the oven and get our skillet going. About a tablespoon of olive oil. And you want to make sure that your skillet is good and hot. All right, now that we have wrapped our fish, and I have it back there with our tablespoon of oil getting hot, this is a very important element to this dish. What I have here is about a half a cup, 3/4 cup of a Panko breadcrumbs, and flat leaf parsley I'm going to add to it, and Parmesan cheese. This is about 1/4 cup, and that's about 2 tablespoons of parsley. And then of course I have orange zest. We're going to just keep this zest going through our dish. And that's the zest of a small orange. We're going to mix this up, mix it all together. And I wanted to have it ready because what we're going to do is we're going to sear one side of the fish, flip it over, add this bread topping, and pop it in the oven to finish cooking. It's a really quick process. And it's so quick that I wanted to make sure I covered this part of the dish. And as I'm mixing this up together, I just want you to know it smells really good. Can you smell it? Nice and citrusy. All right, and we're just gonna let it hang out here while we go and start on our fish. So come on. You see the shrinkage going on? I'm gonna turn off the heat. All right, so as you see, we've cooked it on one side. Literally took less than 5 minutes. I'm gonna take our breadcrumbs and place them on top of our fish. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm going to take a little olive oil and drizzle over the top of our breadcrumb mixture and pop it in the oven for about 10 minutes. Now that we have our fish in the oven, we can go ahead on and pop our biscuits in there. And what I'm brushing on the top of them, just some buttermilk to help them brown. And they actually cook on 450. So they should be done around the same time as the fish. It's not gonna take them long. And think about this, when they come out and they're piping hot, we're going to put a little Parmesan cheese on the top. Ooh. Yeah, I did that. So we have our biscuits in the oven, our fish in the oven. So we're gonna go ahead on and get started on another layer to this dish. And what it is some nice cherry tomatoes, or grape tomatoes, I'm sorry. Grape tomatoes, 2 cloves of garlic minced, and a squeeze of orange, because we're gonna keep this flavor in our dish. And what I have back here is a little olive oil heating. So let's go back here with these yummy ingredients and kick it off. Okay. All right, so already in our dish, I have our orange and red pepper grits, and we have our stewed, or semi-stewed, little tomatoes in the garlic and fresh squeezed orange juice. You don't want a lot, just a little. And the star of the show, our fish. So, oh, I'm so excited, y'all. I love when a plan comes together. We're gonna take our beautiful prosciutto wrapped fish, place it gently on top of our tomatoes. And because nothing is ever finished around here, I'm gonna do a drizzle of olive oil. So of course, like I've been telling you all lately, I don't know when you're watching this video, but we are in quarantine times. And I hope that everyone is being safe and enjoying the times with their family. I had an opportunity to talk to my nephew Christian this morning, and he just celebrated his 10th birthday. Happy belated birthday, Christian. I know you had a good time because TT made sure she gave you just what you asked for. And you got some extra things too. Gonna top it with a little sprig of parsley here. Not too much. Let's go with something smaller. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Tell your friend about me. Tell them to call me. And I do hope you will try these recipes. Have a wonderful, safe day.